involve the knowledge of nutrition in managing the diabetic patient effectively for them to have effective therapeutic response to medications. Now, before we proceed, let me just give a brief definition of diabetes mellitus. It is an abnormality in blood glucose regulation and nutrient storage related to an absolute or relative deficiency of insulin and or insulin resistance to action of insulin or resistance to action of insulin. If you look at this very well, we can see two main words being mentioned two different times, more than once, which is insulin, which will be more of what I'm going to be talking about, the insulin and insulin. And insulin is being attached to a resistance and also being attached to its deficiency, either in absolute or in relative. Actually, it can be diagnosed by either by taking fasting blood sugar that is higher than 126, as in for a after checking for more than 2 or 3 times, or more than 7.0 millimole per liter, or postprandial if it's given more than 200 milligram per dl, or glycated hemoglobin more than 6.5%. Okay, now this topic would not have made much sense if we don't know the implication of this so-called disease condition in our environment. It has been discovered that this diabetes mellitus, it has increased to 7.5% since 2019. That has been like 3.7%. It has gone to 7%, and that is about 21.3% increase, meaning there is always an increase in the prevalence of this diabetes mellitus. So the need for seeing this topic as a topic of importance, and as pharmacists, to have our sole contributions to the effective management of the patient that come down with the diabetes mellitus. Now, I've mentioned what an insulin about in my definition. Now, I want to talk about some more points on insulin. I wish I would have more time than this to get so much information, pass so much across. Now, what is insulin? The only hormone that have an indirect effect on lowering blood sugar. Lowering blood sugar here, I mean regulating the blood sugar, as also as an insulin being an hormone is actually formed from the beta cell molecule, which is proinsulin. And this proinsulin contains the two chains, which are chain A and chain B, which are joined together by connecting peptide. So which is this, and which is called C peptide. How does insulin come into place? Anytime there is glucose in the circulatory system, insulin must come. How does insulin come? Whenever there is an increase or rise of glucose in the blood, in the circulatory system, pancreas will always sense this and will produce almost equivalent amounts of insulin that is going to take off the excess of the insulin from the circulatory system, because excess of it can actually cause some destruction to different organ or vital organs of the body. Now, when insulin is released from the pancreas, am I audible, please? When an insulin is released from the pancreas, it sensitizes the muscle cells, the fat cell, and the liver to pick up the excess glucose. Picking up the excess glucose can either be for the energy for the use for energy, because when glucose is available in the blood, about 70% or 70% of this glucose is actually being used for energy. The remaining one are stored either as glycogen, which has a limited storage, and also can be stored as fats. And we know that I will
Yes.
mention of these fats as I will lay more emphasis as we press further in this presentation. So this is just the grammatical illustration of how glucose sensitizes different cells ranging from the skeletal muscles, so where it bring about glucose uptake, glycogen storage, and protein synthesis. Also stimulate the liver to bring about glucose synthesis, and as we can see on the slide. Now, we have to also take note of the reason why insulin happens to be in the circulatory system is because of
Yes.
the presence of
And
glucose. And the more of the glucose are majorly coming from our dietary whatever food that's been taken, because all of them still boil down to putting glucose in our blood. Now, there are still some other hormones that also involved in this uh, secretion, also involved in the secretion of insulin into the circulatory system. So, which include the incretins, uh, which are GLP-1, GIP, the amino acid, we want that contains the arginine and leucine. Some food contain arginine, some proteinous food containing so much of arginine and leucine can also trigger the release of insulin. Fatty acid, the GI hormone, which are the gastrin, the one that is released when we ingest uh, any food. Then parasympathetic hormone, neurotransmitter, which is acetylcholine, and some other drugs like all these our hypoglycemics. So all these, they also stimulate or trigger the secretion of insulin into the circulatory system, but not as potent as that of the glucose. I just bring this one in just to be sure that uh, this glucose is not the only trigger for the release of insulin. Now, hormones that are also involved in increasing blood glucose. One is glucagon, while the other we have adrenaline, which is found, released from the adrenal medulla of the renal system, which comes as a result of maybe flight, fight, or sympathetic nervous system in general. When this is released, it also prompt the release of glucose into the circulatory system. Now, adrenaline also follow the same route. Then cortisol, which is also an hormone that is released from the stress. So also a kind of hormone that also bring about increase in glucose level, the blood glucose level, and also the growth hormone also bring about increase in glucose level. As you can see, insulin, the only hormone that bring about regulation of blood glucose, and we're having like glucagon and like 5 of these or more that also bring about the increase, while the insulin alone is the one that bring about its regulation. So at this point in time, you see, that is why you see that the body glucose balance system is a bit unfair. If this is happening, then we can always take control and take charge of how we can help our insulin, and that can be done via our dietary about the dietary modification in our patients, then for them to be able to have enough response to the hypoglycemic that may be given. So now, what are the action of insulin? As I mentioned earlier, stores of glucose as glycogen, and also excess glucose as fats, and promotes protein synthesis, also supports growth, and all in all, keep glucose level from going, it prevents it from going too high. Now, I will still have to go back to this, but because of time, let me just rush it down. These are the processes in which the insulin actually take care of glucose, the fats, and the cell growth. Now, insulin and glucose. Insulin and glucose. Why does insulin relate with glucose? Anytime glucose enters into the system, which we know mostly into it gets glucose enter into our system through whatever food or whatever anything that has passed through our oral cavity through GIT will release glucose into the circulatory system. Whenever the glucose is suspected, is known to be in the circulatory system, and the pancreas has sensed this presence of glucose, definitely is going to release insulin. Insulin serves as a town crier that says, now there is enough food, come and pick your copy. It triggers the fat cell, the muscle cells, the liver, come and pick up this excess glucose. Now, all of this, you see the way the insulin is shouting, all of them, they responded to the call of the insulin and they pick up the glucose. Then some use it for storage, some use for energy. Why? If there's still excess of the glucose, some will store as fats. There are some time when all of these cells, the muscle cells, the fat cells, and the liver, they don't seem to respond to the call of the insulin, despite there is glucose in the system. That is what is taking us into what is referred to as insulin resistance. A condition in which the body cells, especially the muscle fat, the muscle cells, the fat cell, and the liver cell become less responsive to the action of insulin. And this hormone that's responsive for the storage of energy, they are not being responsive to the call of insulin. At this point in time, it means glucose is so much in the circulatory system, insulin is being released by the pancreas because pancreas actually sends it. Being released, then insulin tries to sensitize the cells to pick up the glucose as usual for whatever purpose they want it to be used for. Then they are not listening. At this point in time, insulin level will keep increasing as much as the glucose keep increasing. And this may lead to what I will mention as we press further in the presentation. Because the cells don't respond well, pancreas compensates by producing more insulin. Then, as the cells don't respond to the insulin, pancreas will be like, oh, these cells don't see more insulin. Let me produce more if they will get to respond to the call of insulin. And the more the pancreas keep producing insulin, the more the insulin piles up. And as we know, insulin has its own function. When there is so much of this insulin beyond the physiological concentration in the blood, it's definitely going to cause loss of abnormality within the physiological system. No, one of it we said insulin can bring about, one of the functions of insulin is to increase lipogenesis and reduce lipolysis. Always meaning is increasing the production of fat, reducing the breaking down of fats. Then when there's so much of insulin in the system, definitely there's going to be increased production of this fats and not breaking down the fats. And it also alters some hormone that I'm going to mention as we press further in this presentation. And over time, when there's hyperinsulinemia, meaning that there's high level of glucose, then definitely there will be, since the cells are not picking up this glucose from the circulatory system, then the blood glucose is going to go higher than expected, which may cause hyperglycemia. And if this persists for a long time, if it is not an acute case, then it may become the risk of type 2 diabetes, which is the diabetes mellitus, as a topic of the day we want to talk about. Now, the insulin resistance, that is just a brief illustration of how insulin resistance takes place. The glucose, the insulin is making its call, then this guy is opening the eye that I don't want, I have enough. Then we have a lot of these fruits, I mean the glucose in the circulatory system, and at the same time the insulin become rise. So now this is another illustration of insulin resistance. I'm laying more emphasis on insulin resistance because over time it has always been the um the fact that you say diabetes, the sugar level in the blood is always high, but we actually might not be cognizant of the fact that the sugar is not getting high all by itself. Is because something has been happening and care has not been it has not been taken into better consideration. It has not been given more attention. Let me put it that way. And this is insulin resistance. That insulin resistance can actually be acute and it can be chronic. If it is acute, that is when you see the patient that is coming down with the high insulin level, the hyperinsulinemia. It's going to have some symptoms like a faint spell, like dizziness, drowsiness, inability to coordinate themselves. But if that persists, it may result into chronic hyperinsulinemia, which may result into the hyperglycemia and a lot of these conditions. Now, that is where we are going to use our dietary approach in making sure that the medication that the diabetic patient takes will be beneficial and will always respond. They will respond very well to it. That is how to make sure that this insulin resistance is being taken care of. If insulin resistance is being taken care of, it means that we may not get to the level of having hyperinsulinemia, let alone hyperglycemia or diabetes mellitus or any of the disease condition. So now, how do we take care of the insulin resistance? Now, that is how when we target what is called glycemic index. Glycemic index is how quickly food raises the blood glucose after eating. How quickly the food that we eat raises the blood glucose after we have eaten. And it can be graded scale between 0 to 100. There are some food that they have as high as 100 or 90 glycemic index. When this food are being consumed, it rapidly increases the glucose level that is going to be in the circulatory system. So that's why you see the way it is graded here. The GI, which is glycemic index of 70 and above, bring about a rapid spike in the blood glucose. And between the 55 to 69, it is a moderate rise, while the one below with 55 and below causes slow gradual rise. So this is why we are going to use our dietary approach to undo the diabetic management of our patients. Now, more of the food that we eat, we are mostly always put starch as one of the culprits in the food, which is real. Of course, everything we take in Nigeria, we know they are more fat. We don't take eba, rice. In fact, rice is most common depending on the part of Nigeria that we are, but rice is always everywhere. Then eba, I know is well known, fufu, among others. But now, how do we use our dietary approach? That is by targeting what kind of food that has low glycemic index. The food that has low glycemic index, we'll try and move away from the food that has 70 and above and stick to where we can achieve food that have between maybe 56 to 69, or better still, we can get 55 and below. Now, let's move further. That will take me into, since the major food that is being consumed in Nigeria is starch, there's a kind of starch called resistant starch, which I'm going to lay more emphasis on. Resistant starch, as the word implies, resist. It actually resists digestion in small intestine. As we all know, after we might have taken a starch or a carbohydrate food, what happens next is the enzyme in the mouth, that is salivary amylase that has ptyalin, breaks it down, because the food does not stay longer in the mouth, so it gets into the stomach. When you get to the stomach, the acidic level of the stomach halts the digestion process of the carbohydrate until it passes into the small intestine, where it's conversion to glucose, where it's going to directly be absorbed into the circulatory system. But now, for the resistant starch, it actually bypasses the small intestine. It bypasses the small intestine and passes directly into the large intestine, where it's going to energize the colon cells by fermentation process. Okay, now what are the different types of the resistant starch? We have RS1, which are the ones that we already know, the whole grain, the seed, the legumes. Then the RS2, which are the raw potato, bananas, plantains. The RS3, this is where I'm going to put more emphasis, which is the retrograde starch. So there's a way of preparation of this. Then the chemically modified starch, which is not common. There's also RS5, which is not readily available here. For the preparation of the resistant starch, this just involves the conversion of the natural starch that has high glycemic index of as high as 80. For example, yam has glycemic index of between 70 to 90. How can we, and you know, more of our patients do love to take yam, or when the season of yam, we are, let's say, like now we are in the season of yam, and we are depriving them of taking this. How can we convert this natural starch that has high glycemic index to resistant starch with low glycemic index? This is done by this process. For example, a patient wants to take yam. You can tell the patient to cook the yam, cool the yam very well to the barest minimum temperature, reheat again and cool again. This process is not going to bring magic to the yam. What is just going to do, as we know that between the molecules of glucose that is the final unit, the smallest unit of the starch, which you have the glycosidic bond. The glycosidic bond that we know that what can actually break it, maybe the amylase will break it. What is going to happen when the yam is cooked, cool, reheat and cool again? We are changing the yam from one resistant stage to the other. And what is going on is that we shrink this bond more than the way it appears to be natural. This makes this
Doctor, 5 more minutes, please.
oh, okay, ma. This makes this enzyme not to have access to digestion. At the end of the day, we can convert the yam that has 80 GI to 45 GI. Then, and at this point in time, then we can always achieve what we need. Health benefits of resistant starch, these are this. It's lower, it has more fiber, it's lower blood glucose, it helps with waste management, and as you can see here, that's no time is on my side. So I have to mention and brush through some food item that can be consumed that has low glycemic index. So which one of them is the unripe plantain? Unripe plantain, has low glycemic index and can be taken in different forms, which includes the it can be made into swallow, and how you can advise our patient to take it in swallow is when they cut it in pieces, just with the back, just wash it, they cut it to pieces and put the slice one in and put the sliced one in a blender, blend it together into paste, then put it on fire and stir. It's definitely going to become swallow, which is very healthy, and it can also be converted into the chips, which is fried, not fried with the oil, and also made into bole. So you can advise them on that. It can be made into pap, can be made into moi moi, which is the unripe pudding and the pancake. Beans is also one of these food that has low glycemic index, so which actually can bring about uh, reduction in the sudden sugar spike in the blood, and it can be prepared in different form, just in form of bean soup. I wouldn't have time to explain so much on it because time is not on my side. Can be made into akara, and it's akara that is air fried, that is not fried with oil, and it can also be made into moi moi. And the best form of eating beans is the one that the back is not peeled because it has fiber that is going to feed the colon gut. Then corn, the glycemic index of corn is also so low that can also be advised. I can actually advise our patients to take. When we do this, it can be made into, as we can see, into, we can eating the whole corn, then making it into pap. And the best of the pap is the one that, when after the maize might have been blended or grinded, it is not filtered but taken like that. And taken and made into pap this way, then it has a way of not increasing the sudden spike in the blood sugar. And okra with GI of less than 20, the rich in fiber, and it's also known that okra actually increase insulin sensitivity. So, and this okra can be made into soup. And also, our patients can also be advised to take all of these fruit, like avocado. The glycemic index of avocado is less than 15, which is very low. The the carbohydrate level, it doesn't have so much sugar into the carbohydrate. The other fruit that we can encourage our patient is guava, which is very, very good. So the glycemic index is between 24 to 12 to 24. Then just let me brush through it because time is not on my side. The orange is, as you can see, the orange is best. It is best taken as a whole, not just taking the juice because the juice has high glycemic index. Then cucumber can also be allowed, can also be encouraged. We can also encourage our patient to take it. Then the eggplant is also having low glycemic index, which you can encourage our patient to add to the the diet. So the okra, once again, this is where it is. Now, the walnut has zero glycemic index, which is very, very bountiful. More of this food or this diet that has low glycemic index, one of the advantages is that they bring about activation of this satiety hormone, the GLP-1, meaning that the patient gets filled on time. They don't have to take so much, then they will not have enough so much glucose in their system. And when there is increase in insulin sensitivity, definitely there will be optimal efficacy or potency of the medication. So liver milk can also be encouraged. So now I'm just putting up this 7 days dietary approach where you can advise our patients on what to take, because some of them at some point in time you get to confuse on what to take. So you can, for the day one, you can take pap, unfiltered pap with moi moi that is not peeled. Then if they intend taking snacks, we can encourage them to take granola because it has low glycemic index. Then if they intend taking snacks after lunch, then cucumber, as I've mentioned earlier, can also be one of the best option for them. For the day two, this is, I can have it
Okay,
here.
doctor, you can start rounding up, please.
Okay. So then this is just the last part. Then breaking for the day five, all of them are here. Then I think to the day seven. So if we can actually advise our patient on this dietary modification or consideration, it will only go a long way in not just making their hypoglycemic being effective. It also helps in preventing a lot of other disease conditions such as obesity, cardiovascular disease condition, and all. So as we can do much in making sure that our patients make their food their medicine and not their poison. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Usman. That was a very wonderful presentation. Okay, it's now time for question, answer, comment, and contribution. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you so much to the presenter. This was quite enlightening. Please, I want to find out if you can get the slides for this presentation.
Yes, you can have the slide. I will send it to the host.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other contribution, comment, question? Hello?
Hello, good evening. I'm here
Good
again.
evening.
I'm also this method of reducing the glycemic index of natural starch. I know you didn't have enough time to explain, but can it be applied to too many other food types? Hello?
Okay. Should I answer the question or?
No, let's
Okay.
have all the questions.
All the questions. Okay.
Okay, so if we are taking any, we are taking 2 more questions. If there is any or contribution. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Husman.
Okay, yeah,
There's
I'm with you.
none. You can answer the question, the type of
Oh,
the, yes, thank you.
yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Now, I think somebody is raising his hand.
Okay. Okay, I've seen the person. Captain.
Yeah,
Yes,
good
Captain, you
evening.
can ask your question.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Good evening, everyone. I want to, first of all, thank the presenter for a job well done, though he had to rush at the part I'm actually interested in. That was when the rush hour came in. But even at that, I've learned one or two things because basically, when we have a lot of patients, we need to counsel them on, most of them take their medications, but sometimes they still don't have the required uh, blood glucose level, even though they take their medication. So it has to do a lot with their diet. So we need a lot of counseling on the diet, and I particularly liked some of these foods with low glycemic index, which is very important. I'm happy we are going to get the slides so that we can go through it on our own and also do a lot of research into it. So thank you very much, and I've learned something from this presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Captain. The last question is from Dr. Annie. Thank you. Go ahead for your question.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for this topic, and I really appreciate the organizers of today's clinical presentation. My question is based on the methods he described as reducing the glycemic index. He used yam as an example. I want to know, like, keeping food inside the fridge and then warming it again, does it in a way reduce the glycemic index of that meal? That's my question. I hope it's clear.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Usman.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, it's time for answering of questions.
Okay. So thank you very much. Now, regarding the question that comes that if this conversion of the natural food, the one I use yam as an example, can be applied to other natural food. Definitely, it can be applied. So when, for example, like sweet potato, though the glycemic index is still within the moderate, GI is still within the moderate value, but can be actually be converted to the one of low glycemic index. So that is it. And the question that comes that if the food can be keeping the food in the fridge, then reheat and again. What happens is that we are not actually changing the food. We are not changing what is the reason why the um starch, the natural starch, is putting so much glucose into the blood is because the glycosidic bond can actually be broken down by the digestive enzyme, the amylase, easily and in the small intestine. And we know that the small intestine is so large, the surface area is so large that the amount of glucose being absorbed into the blood is going to be so much. Now, what the eating and cooling, the first eating is going to give the natural broken or denatured bond. Cooling it again, what is that going to do is that it's going to bring about shrinking the glycosidic bond more. Eating it again, when it is being eaten again, it also actually bring about the conversion of uh, this starch again to the RS3, which is the retrograde resistance starch. And when it is now cooled then to eat, what is going to happen there is that it's going to shrink the glycosidic bond more, making it inaccessible, not easily accessible to the digestive enzyme in the small intestine. And this at this point in time is going to take it down to the large intestine. And when you get to the large intestine, is going to make it to form the short chain fatty acid like butyrate, propionate, and acetate. And we know that what butyrate is going to do is going to actually feed the colon cell and put more energy on the colon cells. If it is acetate, that one is going to be taken to the liver to the to undergo the Krebs cycle. And if it is the acetate, it's actually going to give the energy directly. And at this point in time, the calorie that is going to be provided by this glycemic index, if it actually come in natural form, it can give about 4 calorie. But when it is already in the resistant starch, it gives 2 calorie. And this even gives more insulin, apart from the preventing the hello? Am I audible?
Yes, we are with you, please.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, so now what is going to happen is that the I think I stopped before the interruption. The acetate is going to feed is going to bring about that Krebs cycle to form energy, then while the propionate is going to help. Now, what I'm trying to explain in essence is this. The another advantage of this bringing about low glycemic index, bypassing the small intestine into the large intestine, is to ensure the insulin sensitivity. Because when there's less calorie, it means that there'll be more demand by the cells. Then the insulin that is already so much in the circulatory system is going to be the cells are going to be sensitive to this insulin. And then they can also even help in burning this fat, in burning the normal abdominal fat that is enter from obesity. I didn't have so much time, but I would have explained this so much. But all in all, the glucose, converting the food to the one of low glycemic index does not actually change the food. We are trying to shrink the glycosidic bond, making it more inaccessible and then feeding the gut bacteria. So that's just, I don't know if I've answered the question very well.
Dr. Annie, are you okay with the answer?
Yes,
Hello.
I'm okay with the answer. So the food doesn't change, the glycemic index doesn't change, just there's a resistance there. That's just it. So
Yes, the glycemic index actually it is reduced. Like that of yam, if you see in the slide, it's actually from 70 or 80. By the time it has been reduced, it gets to 45. Because the glucose that is going to add into the circulatory system is going to be low as compared to if it's taken without being converted to the resistant starch.
May you go up now.
thank
Yeah,
you.
and I
Thank
don't.
you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Pharmacist Emma. Hello,
Yes,
Pharmacist
ma'am.
Emma.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah, good evening. I think we can take one more question. I can see a question in the chat. But
Oh,
before,
okay.
Okay.
before the
Okay, ma'am.
question, Pharmacist John Imram Faith said something that I think we all can benefit from. He said yam should be boiled, unpeeled for diabetic
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
the yam can absorb sugar from the yam.
from the
So I
yam.
think
Yes.
Yes,
some point
Yes.
down to help us to when we are advising or counseling our diabetes patients. Then the
yes.
question is from Pampis Alex.
Okay.
He's asking, apart from yam, which other food can be reduced with this method? So I think the Dr. Usman had answered the time. He mentioned potato. I don't know whether there
Yes.
are other.
Yes,
I
there
don't know
are
whether there.
others.
So maybe you will tell us. Then she now asks again, is there a particular variety of corn that has low glycemic index, or is it all varieties? So those are the two things she asked. Apart from yam, is there other food that can be reduced? You mentioned the potato. I don't know whether you have any other one. Then she said, is there a particular variety of corn that has low GI, or is it all varieties? She also asked for the presentation slides, so
Slide.
I'll take care of that. So please, Dr. Usman, can you help us there? Thank you.
Oh, okay, ma'am.
Yes, you can answer. She's
Oh,
asking
okay, I
if it's
can.
a particular variety of corn or is it all varieties? And then apart from yam and potato, is there other foods that can be, their GI can be reduced with the method you mentioned?
Oh, okay, ma'am. Yes, there are other food. I think I've said that earlier. I mentioned potato, then I mentioned yam, then whichever I don't know if you can actually help with the which other food that has high glucose, high glycemic index, then we can talk about how we can actually, if it has been converted. For like, for example, now for eba, for instance, it actually been made into, it has undergone a lot of processes before it gets to the table. So that kind of one may not be converted. Then doing the substitute may actually be the best option. For example, making, as in using let's say advising taking unripe plantain swallow. Then the swallow being prepared by not removing the back, making it into paste and making it into swallow. So instead of doing that maybe of eba or fufu, then you can actually advise another uh, substitute that can be very beneficial and helpful in reducing the glucose level. I think I missed the second question.
The second question was the slide.
Asking, is there a particular variety of corn or is all varieties?
The varieties of corn.
Species. Is it all types, all species?
So what are the varieties of corn? The corns that I know is, I don't know, they are, if there is this like something like sweet corn or this one that I have in my slide. Let me, I don't know if I can go back. Okay, let me see if I can go back. I want to get back to where I have. I think the corn that is locally, that we know locally in Nigeria, which is the one I have here, is actually the one that I know that has low glycemic index. Yes. So this corn I have here, something like this, is the one I know that has low glycemic index. So if you know what other varieties of corn do you think we have that is local to Nigeria apart from this? So this is the one I know, and I know it has low glycemic index. But I don't know if there's any varieties of corn that we have in Nigeria that is not this.
Rashida, please help us mute your mic, please. Please, doctor, you can continue. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. So what I was saying, I said the corn I know, this one on the slide, the common one that we have, they will either being it white, yellow, or whichever color. So they are having low glycemic index. So, and especially if it is taken with the, as the whole corn, with the shaft, is we are preparing in form of the pap, it should be taken with the shaft, not being filtered, because we just what we need, what we actually want to achieve is to achieve more of fibrous part of the meal to feed the gut bacteria. Then if you are making it into powder, we should also not filter it. But for this sweet corn, it's actually having low glycemic index. I don't know of any other one that has high glycemic index.
Okay. Thank you on her behalf.
Okay.
So Famema, you can continue.
Okay, you can continue. Okay, we have two other questions from the chat. Yes, which is saying, is it all varieties of beans that have the future you mentioned, or it's only the yellow beans you showed? Yes, Dr. Usman, are you hearing from me? Then the last question, I want to know, does all yam have high GI?
Okay.
The medics told me that one time ago that water yam has a low GI. How true is this? Okay,
Actually,
you can go.
for the kind of beans that I know, for the be it the black beans, the maybe the chickpeas, more of them they have the glycemic index below 50, which is very fine. So I don't know of any beans that has glycemic index above that. More of them are even between the range of 20 to 40 something, not up to 50 for the beans. And for the yam, actually, water yam has low glycemic index. The one that they use in making in Ogun State, they use it for ikokore. So the water yam has a low glycemic index. But actually, I will try and confirm the actual value. I don't want to give any value here.
Okay, thank you very much. Pharmacist Esther, I hope you are okay with the answer. Hello? Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Usman, for your wonderful presentation. Okay.
Yeah, come.
And we wish to thank our hosts for today. Everybody, our senior colleagues, our consultants, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate the opportunity that has been given to us this day. Thank you very much. I want Mr. I don't know if it's Mr. but Ike Ozita to give us a closing prayer. Thank you.
Your please, can I speak? I'm raising my hand.
Okay, you're raising your hands.
Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Wafo. Okay,
Okay.
good
Good evening,
evening.
everyone. Good evening, everyone. Number hope I'm audible.
Yes, we are hearing you.
Okay. I just reserve my question why I give a vote of thanks. So I want to start by appreciating our presenter, okay, for tonight's education indeed. Thank you so much because this area is an area most of us pharmacists don't really look into, especially while we are um, counseling our patients. We always look at the medication aspect and neglect the issue of food because food management is very important for our patients. We all know that some food can still interact with the medication, even food, vegetables. But in this case, we are talking about glycemic control, diabetes management. Okay, and I want to, ask a question like, how are we going to educate and counsel our patients in this aspect of glycemic control, especially the diabetes patients? When we want to dispense the medication, want to counsel them, do we continue to emphasize on, don't take this yam, take this type of yam, take this type of um, corn, it has a low, something like that? Or do we concentrate on the photon control?
Very better. Yeah,
Which
nice,
one
nice.
is better? Because you may see that this particular corn has very low glycemic control, or this particular food. But you find that the patient may now take it very deep quantity that maybe when you add all the glucose level, it becomes very high. So I'm not asking, do we concentrate on the glycemic index of a particular food, or do we concentrate on the portion control? As you eat more of vegetable, let's be in a bowl of plate, let vegetable maybe two quarter of the plate and something like that. That's how we are taught then. So let me hear from you, our dear president. And as I close by thanking everyone that joined us tonight, please always do because every Friday we continue to educate ourselves in how to improve our patients' health outcome. Thank you so much.
Hello?
Hello, I'm with you.
Okay,
You can answer.
okay. Dr. Wafo is true. The question, although I didn't really get her. Dr. Usman?
What I could get from the question is, I think she was asking if the focus should be on glycemic index of which food of what or which food has high or low glycemic index, or we should focus on a kind of control that involves the quantity or something. I don't know if I get the question very well, ma.
Exactly.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, actually, more of our patients, for our patients, some even subject themselves to fasting. And in all in all, hunger will always win. And craving for a particular kind of food for so many of our patients is one of their habits. In fact, if you advise patients not to take this today, tomorrow, by the time is about in a week, somebody that has been habitual to taking a particular kind of food, and we tell the patient, don't take this. Some of them are so used to taking a particular kind of food. So if they are the kind of patient that can actually take our advice seriously, and even despite knowing the complication of the diabetes, they may still want to do what you don't want them to do, actually for their own good. So there's no bad in actually putting the two together. When we are trying to, instead of withdrawing them from taking what they love the most, we can actually make it in a way such that it will not be harmful to them, such that if it's the kind of food that the glycemic index can actually be reduced, such that the patient may still will not take as much, despite the glycemic index is reduced, so will not take as much. That kind of package will really actually help the patients. And also, if there are other food that we know this food can, let me just come this way. Most diabetic patients, like the one that I've come across, they are always getting tired and say, don't eat this, don't eat this, don't eat that. What are we going to eat? And actually, it's not only meant for them, it's actually for us too. So what I know we can actually target is to try to make sure that they are ready before the diabetes can actually set in. We know that insulin resistance might have set in for more than, because insulin resistance does not take place in a day. It takes years to build up. So what we can intend to do is to reverse the insulin resistance gradually by preventing the hyperinsulinemia. When we can reverse the hyperinsulinemia over time with the food that has low um, glycemic index, then coupled with the food that we know that, okay, take this at this quantity, take this at this quantity, of the continuous advice, counseling will always go along with. There's no bad putting the two side by side, not just taking to one. I don't know if I've answered the question.
So we should be looking at the glycemic index as well as the quantity.
Exactly. Exactly, ma. Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
Hello.
Nothing much. How you doing?
Hello?
Hello, yes, I'm with you, sir.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to.
Oh, my side is
Can you
okay.
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
just to just
Nothing much.
add a voice to what has said.
Oh, okay.
Like you have said, I think let me appreciate Dr. Nwafo for this question. I can also see Professor Aino there, my professor in Unilag. Just to make things very straight, I think this
Good evening,
knowledge is
everybody.
to add. Hello? I thought I had the floor to speak.
Please, you can go
I
ahead,
just
sir.
said good evening, everybody.
Okay, so just to say that what has been said is for us to add knowledge to what we have before, because like
Hello.
Hello, I can.
mentioned, if you make diabetes meal a monotonous one, definitely.
I can't.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, I can hear you.
My My
I
network
think
kicked me out. Sorry.
the network is very, very bad. Dr. Usman, please,
Yes,
I
I'm
think
with you.
you should help us drop your number for further contribution question so
Okay.
that we can get directly to you.
Oh, okay. Okay, no problem.
Okay. Thank you very much for tonight's presentation. We really appreciate it. We hope to call it a day. As earlier as I said, Pharmacist AK Zita to help us pray. Thank you. No problem. Obinna Ozita, please, are you on?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Please, a prayer to end the section. Thank you.
All right. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Heavenly
Amen.
Father, we thank you for the knowledge and insight shared in this meeting. We ask that you guide our mind and our hands as we continue our research. Grant us clarity to interpret our findings and wisdom to make a sound decision, and patience to persevere through challenges. God of all creations, we acknowledge that our research is a research for truth and a way to serve others. As we conclude this meeting, we ask that you keep our purpose clear. Remind us of the people we work in is meant to help and the problem it is meant to solve. Bless our efforts so that they may have a positive and lasting impact on the world. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you. Amen. Everybody. Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
man.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.